What is going on, peeps? It is Aldo here at Zero to Mastery, and today we are talking all about what to say when you're going through the behavioral portion of a technical interview. Let's go. Alright, so for those that don't know, all a technical interview is a job interview that relates to a position in tech. Now these can range in time. It can be anywhere from 30 minutes to a couple hours depending on a couple different factors. Another thing to keep in mind is that sometimes there may be more than just one person doing the interview on you. So it could be you, the interviewee, and then you can have 2 to 3 different people doing the interview. Now, these different people can range in positions, so you can actually have a recruiter there, you can have other developers that you might be working with if you get hired, you can have a product manager there. There's so many different possibilities in that aspect. Each technical interview has what I like to call 2 pillars. It has the behavioral portion and the technical portion. Now this can be one interview or it can be split up into multiple different interviews, but that's the main gist of it. You have a behavioral section and a technical section. In these 2 pillars, the interviewer is trying to answer 3 questions. 3 very simple, maybe not so simple questions. The first one is, can you do the job? The second one is, will I work well with you? And the third one is, are you going to improve? Now normally the first question will be answered in the technical portion of the interview, and then the next 2 will be answered in the behavioral portion. Obviously some of the things you do in the technical portion might have some influence on all questions, or vice versa. Now before we get started, I do want to mention that for time's sake, I'm just going to be tackling the behavioral portion of the interview in this video. And then if you guys would like to see the technical portion, drop a comment, give this video a like. You have to smash that like button for me to drop the technical portion. I have a lot of very great tips for that, but I need to see some enthusiasm in the comment section, so let me know. But let's get into it. First things first, and arguably the most important, is that you have to go into this interview with the right mindset. Wait, before you click off this video, just hear me out, This is super important because I feel like a lot of people go in there like they're begging to get this job. You have to remember that the company that you're applying to is looking to hire. They need someone for that position. If not, they wouldn't be hiring. So remember that this isn't a pass or fail. This isn't a try or quit. This isn't none of that. You're going in to apply for a position that they're looking to hire for. So remember that this isn't the only opportunity, and take every experience as a learning opportunity and you will be just fine. The next most important thing to have prepared is your hero qualities / stories. Now, I have to thank Andre for this one because I learned it from him. Most things I learned from him because I was a student at ZTM. But nonetheless, at any behavioral interview, they're trying to ask you a couple questions that they want your responses to highlight some of your best qualities. And you need to think about this, guys. This needs to be something that you've thought about before. You don't want to make anything up when you're just sitting there and they ask these questions. You don't want to give them any BS because most likely they'll be able to read into that. But you also want to have, you want to have given this some thought. You want this to not be a complete surprise when you sit there and get asked these questions. So today, or right now, I'm going to tell you the stories that you need in your back pocket. The first story you need prepared is your technical story. Now for this, I recommend having something like a challenging or a personal project that you created that you can highlight on. This has to be a project that you're extremely familiar with, and if you get asked about the code that you wrote, you need to know kind of what's going on. This can't be a project that maybe you did a tutorial along or a code along and you don't really know what you did. It has to be something that you're really easily able to explain and that you understand well. They'll be able to really know real quick if this is BS. So keep that in mind, guys. If you've built an e-commerce shop or a social media platform, it doesn't have to be too elaborate, but if you build something with a bit more complexity that's doing 8 to 10 different things, I would highly recommend you pick that. But again, at your skill level, whatever you've built, go with something that's challenging and that really shows them that you know what you're doing. The second story you need to have prepared is your success story, and it is exactly as it sounds, guys. So here it's important to highlight a moment of success. If you've had a job promotion in your past job, if you built an application or a project that's had some type of success, anything. Don't overthink it. The important thing here is just show the company that you've had success in the past. Companies want to hire successful people, so keep that in mind. The third story that you need to have prepared is your leadership story. And I know this one sounds cliche, but it is very true. Companies want to know that you don't have to be monitored at all times, that they can leave you unattended and the place just won't go in flames. So it's very important to have a story where you can show that you've led a group or a couple people, just something where where they can really see that you have leadership qualities, and that if you need to step up to the plate, that you know that you can step up to the plate. These kinds of things. So keep this in mind. This is extremely important as well. Make sure to have something to talk about that really highlights some of those leadership qualities. And the last and fourth story that you need to have prepared is your challenge story. You know the classic question, tell me about a time when you went through some adversity and how you got through it, or something along those lines, right? Here is the perfect time to use this story. You need to have a moment where you can show the interviewer that you faced adversity and that you, regardless of how hard a challenge is, you'll find a way to get through it. When the going gets tough, you don't quit. You just keep trying and trying and trying until something works. Now, for these hero stories, I recommend having 2 to 4. Ideally, you want to have 4, but at least 2. The more the merrier in this case. And again, it's important because we need to have something prepared. You don't want to sit there and be thinking too much or trying to make something up on the fly when you're getting asked these questions. Interviewers can tell when you're lying most of the time. So keep that in mind. Now that we have our stories down, let's go over some of the most common questions that you will see at a behavioral portion of an interview. The first one is the dreaded, tell me about yourself. Now, I hate this question. I'm sure you probably do too. Most people don't like it, but it's a question that you'll get asked pretty much in any interview, not just tech. Now for this, I want you to keep it simple. Keep it under a minute. Talk about skills to the job at hand. Don't mention a whole bunch of other things that don't relate to that job. You have to keep it concise and accurate. And then for this, I also recommend highlighting your triggers of success. Talk about your best qualities, but all under a minute, minute and a half. You don't need this to be too long. Just keep it simple. The second question that you probably will get asked is, what is your biggest weakness? And for this, I want to emphasize to please, please, please be truthful. No gimmicky answers. Just be honest. They'll see right through your I work too hard or I never know when to quit. Don't say that. I'll give you an example of something I've used in the past that's actually true. So an issue that I've had, and probably my biggest weakness, is I never do proper pre-planning or storyboarding for a project or a build. I always just kind of jump into start coding. And this is terrible because sometimes in the build, or almost all the times in the build, I'll get stuck and not know how components were supposed to work together, or the component hierarchy, how I was going to run my state management, all of this. So this can be a problem in multiple moments during the build. I've learned and tried to improve on this by spending more time pre-planning, storyboarding, and writing down exactly how I want things to work together. Again, this is something that I'm every day working on trying to improve. And that right there is a great answer to that question. And it's something genuine. If you were to go on my GitHub and look at my repositories, you'll almost see no sketches, no wireframes, nothing. You'll see the Create React app because I'm a huge React fan, but that's about all you'll see. So that is something that I'm actively trying to work on every day. The third question that you will frequently get asked is, why us? Now for this, it's very important to not just sit there and say, I need a job, I need money. Even though that may be the truth, it is a terrible answer and no company wants to hear that. For this question, I need you to make the interviewer and the company itself just feel good. Highlight them, show them why you want to be there. What I would do for this is, before your interview, look up different things about this company, projects that they're working on, things that they've done, foundations that they've built. Find a way to connect and make them feel good. Don't just sit there and say, I want the job because I need a paycheck. No, think about a way to connect with this company and show them that you actually really care about the things they're doing. The fourth question that you will most likely get asked is one we briefly spoke about earlier, and that is, tell me about a problem and how you overcame it. Now for this, we're going back to the classic SAR method. What is that? Situation, action, result. What was the situation? What did it involve? What was the action you took? And what was the results from the action that you took in that situation, if that makes sense. My tips to you here are, keep it relatable to the work that you are applying for. Obviously, don't go talk about something that has nothing to do with the job you're trying to land. If you have numbers and metrics that you can bring up, I would definitely bring those up. But most importantly, just keep it genuine and you will be a-okay. And the last question I want to talk to you about is the classic, do you have any questions for us? Now don't just say no and walk away. That's a terrible way to end the interview. Just like the why us question, find a way to connect and make the company feel good, make them feel like you actually care and want to be there. This is extremely important. And like always, I'm not going to leave you without one of my examples. I have this question that I always use at every interview. It's always in my back pocket, and I'm going to tell you guys because I care about ZTM so much, but let's keep it a secret. And that question is, what would success look like a year from now if I was hired for this position? Why is this question so good? Because subconsciously, the interviewer is already pairing you with the job before you've even been hired, before other people have even been interviewed. He's already placing you with that job and pairing that with the outcome of success just by the way you phrase this question. It gets them thinking about you in a good light, and it really gets them thinking about the possibility of you joining the company. So I would definitely recommend you guys have that one in your back pocket as well. There are plenty others online that you can find that would be just as great. And that is all to it. I hope you found this video helpful and you learned something from it. If you have any questions, drop them down in the comment section below. And if you're excited to see the technical portion come out, then make sure to make that comment section lively and I will drop that video as soon as possible. But I need to see that comment section lively. But like always, it's been a pleasure, and until next time.